get started. So once we get into the agenda of this particular demo, so these are the few things that we cover part of it. So we will know what is the fusion applications and what is the cloud computing technology, the delivery models of fusion applications, so the on-premise versus cloud platform, the differences, technology, functional and application changes when it comes to fusion applications, and what is that we used to do part of EBS, Oracle Fusion Architecture, Oracle Fusion Enterprise Structure, and how does the look and feel have in case of user interface for Fusion applications. And finally, we have SCM course curriculum. So what is that we are going to discuss part of the SCM course curriculum. So these are the things that we will discuss. So let's get into the further slides. Okay, so about the Fusion applications. So what is that? We are talking about Fusion all the time. Okay, and how does this particular technology arrived into the market? So being Oracle as a leader in EBS as a platform which already being used for more than a decade. So where e-business suite being implemented and used by a huge amount of customers. But what does actually arrive for Oracle to implement a new technology or create a new technology called fusion applications by taking all its products or all its peers, I would say. So where your Oracle, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, Siebel, and eBusiness Suite, Hyperion, and Primavera. So these are nothing but the Oracle owned products. So in this journey, so Oracle has acquired all these applications. So now when it comes to fusion applications, so taking all these business products into consideration, so it had to take the best practices or the best of breed things out of all these applications to build one, the path breaking application, new application, so which actually reduces the cost and reduces the time to implement for any of the customer. So to compete with our own competitors, whoever are existing in the market. So it has taken the best practices from all these applications, which are nothing but the Oracle owned applications, and built a new application called Fusion. Okay, so where the best practices from the customer experiences and the best practices and from the service line that what we had part of Oracle EBS and all these other applications. So those are the few things to overcome what that we could not do it part of these particular applications. So that are primarily focusing on those key areas of new application has been built. Okay, which has a lot of inheritances from all these applications. So that is where we've got the fusion. Okay, so we will discuss elaboratively. So what is that? Each application had at the best, and now what is that it has been taken over to Fusion to give you that best. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide here. So as I said, so taking the best practices from all these applications, so it has built the Fusion applications. So where, so when it comes to Oracle JD Edwards or PeopleSoft, so JD Edwards is primarily known for its procurement as a strong module when it compares to other modules. Okay, so where from JD it has been taken the procurement as a best practice, and also taking our usual practices and what is that the functionalities that we could not do it part of Oracle EBS and our few things. Okay, when it comes to even manufacturing was one of the key asset, or I'll say key point, that used to have a lot of flexibilities. Okay, so that has been taken into consideration. Okay, the best of breed things taken into consideration from JD Edwards to build an application called Fusion. So the same way PeopleSoft, we had HRMS as the best technology which was being used by most of the customers. So what is that? Uh, the functionalities, all those things, whatever we had, part of our PeopleSoft. So those are the same things has been acquired to our new Fusion applications. So that is how we've got the flexibility being given in a much more advanced way. So the things which you could not do it there, so we are doing with the best practices. And when it is Oracle Siebel, so we had CRM. So CRM was one of the key player part of Siebel. So that CRM technology has been grabbed, and when it comes to Oracle EBS suite or e-business suite, financials is one of the best modules, or mostly implemented modules. So as we said, financials is the blood of the Oracle business suite. So the best practices from there. So it has been acquired to Fusion, and when it comes to Oracle Hyperion, the projects, and Hyperion is not the project, it is the reporting, and the Primavera is mainly used to focus on the project side. So that's how we've taken the best practices from all these applications. And even going forward, so it is also quite flexible for the users who used to work in these individual technologies to consolidatively work on the Fusion applications. So that is how even for the customers, and for the people who work as a partners who work for these applications, they find quite similar and flexible to work in the Fusion applications. And also along with this, so there are lots more other things, so which are new in the Fusion. So those things we will try to understand in the coming slides. So I'll move on to the next slide. So cloud computing as the latest next gen technology that's being used. So what is that? The cloud which we are talking about, and the cloud is the main platform which is being used to build the Fusion applications. And in that, when you get into the details of the cloud, so you have again so different type of delivery models available. So first, before we get into that, we'll try to understand what is the cloud computing. Okay, so maybe you might be knowing what is the cloud computing is all about. So if someone knows about it, or if anybody want to comment, so just there you can tell me what is the cloud computing, just in your view. So so basically a cloud technology. Okay, so what we used to do, so when we purchase an application license to implement, okay, so we used to do the implementation of that particular application, so in our own premise, okay, where we used to host the server in our own data center. But here, when it comes to cloud computing, so the practice has been changed here. So here we are using some remote server host in a different data center. So where we do not host our data center. Okay, we host this particular application in some remote server or an internet store to manage and process the data rather than local server as a personal computer. Okay, so that is what basically the cloud computing technology. Okay, which is hosted on a remote place. Okay, so what is that the best advantages of it and disadvantages of it? Okay, we will try to know. So that is what the cloud computing technology, which is a platform for our Fusion applications. So we have here in this particular delivery models, we have SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS as the delivery models. So SaaS is nothing but software as service, PaaS is nothing but platform as service, and IaaS is nothing but infrastructure as service. So we will know what is these things are about clearly when you get into the further slides. So here now you can see it. You have software as service, platform as service, and infrastructure as service. So when it comes to software as service, okay, a subscription based access would be given to the client, okay, based on the number of users they use it. So we will only give the access to the application, so based on the number of users. So client would pay it for it as they grow. For now, so they are using some X number of users for now, and when they grow to Y number, so we will have again the terms and conditions will be changed and he will start paying more. So this is kind of a subscription model, the same way how we have making the bill payment for a mobile subscription or making payment for any subscription. So this is kind of a SaaS model here. So we will have the application in the cloud in the client place or whoever is the service provider place. We will do not host anything of that particular server, and we will only take the access and use the application, and we pay for it. So that is what your software as a service. We will have to use the application as it is available. Okay, so the next thing is platform as a service. So the PaaS application what we discussed here, right? Okay, the PaaS is nothing but the platform as a service. So here the customer would be given an access to play with the applications. So in case of SaaS model, the customer uses only whatever is available. But here, when you need or when you're using PaaS application, so when you are allowed to do some kind of a additional things which are compared to your PaaS application, SaaS application. Like you can be able to do customizations. You are allowed to have the access for your other applications like your SQL and all that. Okay, so this is kind of a free or flexible environment where you will pay more compared to your SaaS. Okay, so that is what your PaaS. And the infrastructure as service, which is the third technology or kind of a third delivery model. Here we will get the access to the infrastructure, which is nothing but the database on which you can be able to host anything, any application. So your infrastructure is yours. You'll get the access to the entire infrastructure. You can be able to get access to deploy any of your applications. So that is what the difference between these three. So based on the type of model which you use, okay, so you will have the cost and you also have the flexibility to play with applications because current days, so you know, right, it is all the requirements driven. So there's no chance for you to say that we have a limitation with an application. So when once the requirement comes, so you have to be able to, or in other words, your application should be able to do it anything whichever is required by the client. So that is where we have all those practices which were not implemented in an application with the future generation cloud technology. And on the left hand side, if you observe, so you have some of the key players which are into the type of delivery model when it comes to the cloud applications like Salesforce CRM and Lotus Life for SaaS. So Salesforce is one of the elder or the older key players in the market who are now working on the cloud technology. And you have Windows Azure and Google Ad at the PaaS level, and Amazon Web Services, where Amazon would give access for you to use his cloud, and you can be able to deploy whatever application you want. So where infrastructure is provided to you by Amazon, and you can be able to host your applications and use the way you are. So guys, any questions till now?
Hi Raj, just this is Bhaskar. Shrivan, could you mute your audio, please?
Yeah. So guys, feel free to interrupt. So let's try to understand collaboratively from your side and our side as well. Okay, so it should not be like only one way. So wherever you have questions, please feel free to ask. So I'll move on to the next slides. So as we discussed about the delivery model, okay, so what type of delivery is available? So based on that, so what is that? The flexibility you have here in this particular sheet, oh sorry, the slide, you will understand when it comes to SaaS application. So you have application security, database, operating systems, visualization, server, storage, networking, data center, all these maintained by a vendor, whoever gives you the access for your application. Okay, where you will not have any kind of a privilege to write whatever you've been given with. So you have to use your application the way it is available. Okay, the maintenance of the same is completely owned by a vendor. Okay, so let it be an application or a security database, operating system, virtualization. So everything related to your application, the whole and sole owner is your vendor. Okay, so you are only a tenant. The way you will come to an apartment to rent it and you pay monthly and you don't hold any of the privileges to do modifications of your flat. You will have to live the way it is and you have to come out if you want. Okay, so the way you have here the SaaS model available. Okay, and the next thing is your PaaS. So where it is application is managed by you. Okay, for an example, let it be an Oracle or any other application. So the application is managed by you, and the other than application, so everything is yours. Sorry, it is maintained by the vendor. Let it be a security database, operating system, and all these other key aspects would be handled by you. Where in this particular PaaS application, you are allowed to do the customizations and you can put your own views according to your requirement. So where, if you take the example of what we've taken in case of SaaS, so you can be able to modify a few things from here to there in your flat. Okay, so you can be able to make changes according to your change or according to your requirement. Okay, so here you're allowed to do that. Okay, so the application is maintained by you and other things are maintained by your vendor. And when it comes to infrastructure as service, so you are given with a flat, an empty flat. Okay, so just you put on whatever you want. Okay, so the flat is completely yours. So it is kind of a lease to you. Okay, so you have taken a lease and you can be able to host anything on it. So an infrastructure itself is yours. So you can be able to have your applications, your security wise application and your database. So these three things are available for you. And the other things like your operating systems, virtualization, server storage, and all that, it will be maintained by your vendor. So when it comes to the flexibility from the previous two delivery models, so in the infrastructure as service, so you'll have more flexibility. So that way, so based on the type of delivery model you choose, you'll have flexibility. So you will have to decide when you are implementing or when you are planning to implement the Fusion applications, what is that delivery model which you are going to do. So based on your requirements and based on your existence into the market and based on the strength of your business, so you'll have to decide so what actually appropriate, what type of a delivery model is appropriate for the client to go for an implementation with the Fusion Cloud applications. Okay, so
Hey
here.
Raj,
Mm,
Raj, this is Ravi. Quick question.
mm,
What would be the example of virtualization in this case?
Virtualization.
Yeah,
Okay, so virtualization is nothing but the type of vertical which is high, which you have with the applications. So application in case of
like manufacturing vertical or maybe
mm,
supply chain. Okay. Like banking and financial. Okay, fine.
so
I got it.
that kind of a vertical it is.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Raj.
Okay, okay. So
Raj, Srini here.
mhm.
One question, like when you say this SaaS, PaaS, and the other model. So when you say the PaaS, you said that the application will be owned by the uh, or managed by the client who is going to use with the Fusion application. So in this case, can we do the any customization or any uh, custom tables creation or the form changes in the past?
Yeah, definitely you can do it. So PaaS, I would say it is completely a developer's ball game. Okay, so it is for you or for the people, whoever is going for a customizations simply by applying or taking a PaaS license. Okay, when it comes to SaaS, you would not be able to do all these things. You will have to use the way it is. But PaaS, it is completely changeable or completely customizable. Okay.
Okay. And when it comes to the last option, IaaS,
Mm.
okay, is it something like it's the on-premises uh, one, or is it again it's a centralized cloud one?
So you can have your on-premise, you can have your cloud, they can coexist. So infrastructure itself is given to you. So there you can have multiple applications simultaneously running for you. So all that, it is kind of a more flexibility and future generation type of delivery model here it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now I'll come to the on-premise versus cloud. Here you can see what is that the on-premise application do. So in case of the existing way how we handle the application here. So when it comes to customer owned upgrades and patching, so we used to take our own time to do kind of an upgrades and patches in case of upgrading our applications. So we used to maintain the support team for which we used to have some annual support costs. So the IT subcontract staff is required and managing own network and security access. So these are all this things we used to have. So capex upfront investment is nothing but we used to invest upfront for the application. So when we are doing the implementation and when we are doing so the setup of our application. So database center and hardware cost, including the disaster recovery. So this we used to, the client is used to, responsible for it, and the client used to take the whole and sole responsibility. And costly customizations created and maintained. So whatever the customizations that we used to do with the help of the IT team here, so they used to be quite heavy on our pocket. And when it comes to maintenance, so we used to not get much assistance from the product owner because Oracle does not use to, support much for the customizations, so between the applications. Okay, so outdated software resulting in missed business benefit. So as the application is not being updated based on the time frame, so we used to miss some of the best of the breed features being implemented into the latest application version, and that we used to go ahead with upgrading whenever the business are required, or whenever there was a feasibility for us to go for the upgradation. So that is what actually caused to miss some of the functionalities or features, so which were useful for our business. So these are some of the things which used to happen in case of our on-premise, but when it comes to cloud, it is completely different. So it is kind of a tailor-made technology for us, so where you can rent flexible service, pay as you grow. So that is what your subscription model, right? So the way you use the application, so based on the number of users or number of the type of usage, you pay for the product owner or the vendor. And so here the security and the access, you can have it from whenever or wherever. Like we do not have any kind of a much security VPN kind of an access further. So based on the type of usage, okay, it's simply a browser which is needed for you to access, and from wherever it is required, you can be able to access, and security and all that stuff is being taken care by your vendor. So business super users rather than IT support. So in case of the IT support is completely maintained by the vendor. So business users just take care of their daily transactions, and the daily wise their activities. And here the no upgrades but latest functionality via regular releases. So this is one of the best option to upgrade the application to the latest versions, or get the releases of the latest application release, and to have the update based on the default thing which is available. The way we have our mobile application being uploaded or updated to our next version, so the same way the application also does auto upgrade. So nothing too much worry much on that. So the vendor would take care of all that. So based on the regular intervals, that is how there is no chance of missing the best things for you to use it. Okay, so a monthly schedule actually happens in that case. So that is what your basic differences between your on-premise and cloud applications. So I would move on to the technology-wise changes when it comes to EBS versus Fusion. Okay, so when you take about the servers, so in the EBS case we used to have Oracle Lab Server. So here it is completely a WebLogic. Okay, WebLogic server. So we are no more holding that Java kind of a stuff which is required for us to open the forms. So it is completely a web-based, a browser-based logic which works for us as a server. Okay, so that is what our WebLogic server, and the user interface, which is form, which used to be forms or JSPs in case of EBS. Now here it is the ADF. Okay, so it is the web pages which you are using. So here also Java is used, but it is completely a web-based ADF technology. So where it is helps us to access the application on the browser itself. And workflows, it is the PLX PSQL workflows in case of EBS, and now it is BPL, an integrated application with Fusion, so which actually takes care of all the workflows. So whichever may be the workflow, it actually takes care of all that and gives you the best flexibility for you to handle whatever the processes to smoothly function based on the workflows. And reports, it is XML publisher in case of EBS. Now it is BI publisher with integrated and available with the Fusion applications for you to quite simply create your own analysis or reports which can be used like your dashboard or your regular schedules to run the reports. Okay, so the flexibility is much more here. And analysis of the reports you can be able to do through Discoverer in EBS, but now we are doing it through OTBI, Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence, so which is kind of a integrated thing to analyze and view graphically what is that the data which is showing, and how does it can be best presented. So you don't need to worry about all those things. The system would suggest you what is that the best view for this particular data based on the data which is pulled or extracted by the parameters whatever is given. So that way an OTBI is integrated and gives you a best flexibility to present the data in a presentable format. So any questions? Yeah, feel free to stop me wherever you have the questions. So I'll move on to the functional changes. Okay, so here when it comes to accessing the screens or accessing the pages, so we had responsibilities in EBS, but in Fusion applications we no more have responsibilities. It is completely a roles driven access control or role based access control. So based on the role whatever is available, so the user would get access to some of the set of privileges. Okay, so a payables user should have a payables administrator or manager role. A procurement user should have a procurement manager. So that's how we would give him the set of responsibilities only, you call it as, but we do not hold the way we used to hold for responsibilities. Now it is the role and it has some privileges inherited so that it gives the privilege to access some of the activities. So that is all based on the role. So nothing to worry much. It is quite simpler mechanism. So the way you have roles and we have multiple types of roles. So what role actually does what kind of a job? Very simple to understand. Okay. So that's how we will be accessing the application with the help of roles itself. So there are no more responsibilities. And approvals, it used to be AME or workflow. So but here it is business process management and BPL. So BPL as we just discussed. So we can be able to write the conditions the way we used to write in AME. So like whatever is your flexible condition for you to work in case of this particular document approval. Okay, so the same way, either it is a purchasing document, purchase order or a blanket agreement, you can simply or flexibly write your own condition to reflect for that particular document itself. Okay, so that way you have a very flexible way of writing your own conditions without the help of any technical people. So you clearly understand with whatever the dimensions or whatever the objects available part of the BPM or BPL workflow for you to just drag those particular things and make it as a condition to work for your approval case. Okay, so that's how it is quite handy, I would say. And when it comes to data migration, so you had conversions. So we used to have some standard, non-standard conversions, but here it is all through FPDIs, file-based data imports. So as we said, taking the best practices. So it is an Excel file which is used, a macro-enabled Excel file. So for each of the type of data that we are migrating, so we have a respective template available. So those particular data templates we take and we will key in the data and would simply load it to the UCM. So Unified Content Management Server is what we are calling it as. So the way we had or we used to create a staging table when we are doing the data conversion. So now we are using UCM to upload the data, and from there we will load it to interface. And from there we will relevantly pull it to whichever functional area it is. When it comes to suppliers, so we go and import the suppliers in the supplier functional area. When it comes to purchase orders, we go and do it in the purchasing work area. So that is quite simple. You yourself will be very happy to know that it is quite simple now for you to just do the data migration. Okay. So setup and configuration of the applications. So you used to do it through an application menu, but here it is functional setup manager. That means the screen where you hold all your offerings and its related options, and through which you will access the end task to perform the setup. So that area we are calling it as functional setup manager. Okay. So that is the change when it comes to Fusion. So any questions here, guys? So let me move on. So application wise changes. So what is that? The application what we have in EBS and the way how we are calling it in the Fusion applications. So the financials is what the financials, the same thing we are calling it as financials only. So the applications HRMS, now here it is SCM, and projects is nothing but project portfolio management. The PPM we are calling it as. Okay, so that is quite different in the naming convention, and but the same thing of the whatever we used to have in an advanced way, the same flexibility of configuring or requirements and all that options whatever we had, similarly available here. So the database when it is used to be Oracle database in case of EBS, but here it is Oracle and SBase. So SBase is again a new technology which has been adapted for our Fusion applications. So which stores the data in its cubes, the way we have tables in Oracle database, right? So the same way we have cubes which actually stores and retrieves the data in case of SBase. So wherever it is required, mainly in case of some financial applications or financial reporting, the SBase is used. Okay, so which is again an integrated application or database with the Fusion application. And the way we had system administrator is a responsibility. So we have two of the different applications doing the same system administrator responsibilities. Okay, what actually we used to do part of system administrator? Guys, anybody? What we used to do part of system administrator? So we used to create the users, we used to reset their credentials, we used to assign the responsibilities, right? Part of Oracle System Administrator. So the same work now we are doing with the help of two different applications. Okay, so one is Oracle Identity Manager, where you create the user, reset the user credentials, and you assign the roles. Okay, and the Authorization Policy Manager is another application. So with the help of which you will configure roles, okay, and you will configure role templates, which is another key important aspects in case of roles, and you will be able to also assign the privileges to the user directly without giving a role to the user. So that way there are two applications. Okay, so all these things we used to do part of system administrator in case of EBS. So although we did not have the roles concept, we used to do your responsibilities part of that. Now here we are doing the identity manager and authorization manager, policy manager, which are the applications available integrated with the Fusion. Okay, so next I will go further. So this screen would have some high level information of how the products and families available in case of Fusion applications. Okay, so this is where you have your financials, your Fusion projects, and your procurement, supply chain applications, all that being built on your Fusion middleware. So middleware is a Oracle owned technology, okay, on which any of your application in the Fusion would get built and would be given access with. So that is what your Fusion middleware. On the step 2 or on the number 2, you will be able to find you have enterprise crawl and search framework, Oracle Enterprise Scheduler, and Oracle Fusion middleware extensions for applications. So these are nothing but the Fusion middleware related components. So we are not much required to know about each of these things. So these are something you can call it as part of technical, but here what we all need to know is it is the middleware as a platform which is used on which the Oracle Fusion applications is built. And when you even come down, you have our database available on the step 3. So Fusion application schemas, Fusion middleware schemas. Okay, so there are a lot of other things which are available. So not much that we need to know about it. So but only things that we need to know is what is that the product family is available and on which it is being built. So the Fusion middleware is something on which the every application of Fusion is available. Okay, so now we are coming into the core application structure. Okay, so how do we have the enterprise structure being available over here? Okay, so this is where, so we will get into the application and we will try to figure out, so what is that the key change which is available when it comes to the multi-AGA structure of EBS, and what is that the enterprise structure of Fusion, and what are the differences. Okay, so it is the enterprise which is actually the top or the head of any of the application, the enterprise structure. So the way we used to have business group at the top, so we have enterprise available here. On the enterprise, we have below to that division, which is a new concept. Okay, so you can be able to have divisions of your business. The way you are able to find this screenshot which is available shows that you have multiple businesses which are nothing but your multiple verticals of your business. So the way you have some IT division and your manufacturing division and the FMCG division it can be. So that's how it is quite flexibly for reporting purpose. It has been given for you to do the bifurcation of your business. Okay, so that is new enhancement here. So we have primary ledger, the same way it is available, and legal entity, the way we had the same thing available here. So the operating unit, we are no more calling it as an operating unit, so it is business unit now. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between the way you used to define operating unit in EBS and the way you're doing the business unit in Fusion case. Okay, so we have some new flexibilities to set up the business functions, like what is that the business function that you're performing. Let's say that one of your business unit or operating unit only performs requisitioning, so you are flexible to choose only a requisitioning business function, not required to choose all of them. So in case of EBS, so we had no such facility or flexibility, right? So here we have a business function choosing flexibility which is available. So in case of your ever-changing requirements like centralized procurement or shared service center procurement, you can be able to have this particular scenario being helpful for you to create those requirements and fulfill them. Okay, so that's how you have business unit, business functions available. And when it comes to town, so you have inventory organizations. So department is one of the other new entity which is also available. So which is not available in this slide, but we will discuss about it. So why a department is used mainly for maintaining the employee data. So the way we used to maintain the employee data at the business group level, so now we are no more maintaining it at the business group. So we will maintain at the department, and we will map that particular department to the enterprise structure so that an employee data is also maintained. Okay, so that is how we have this enterprise structure available in the Fusion here. So guys, any questions?
So quick question, Raj.
Mm.
You meant to say like the whole HR or the resources maintenance, like human capital management,
Mm.
are those now maintained at department level rather than business group level?
Yeah, so we are no more maintaining at the business group level, it is at the department level.
Okay, so how the sharing is happening, if the
Mm.
same resource is managing multiple departments,
Mm.
is that resources is defined at multiple departments at a time?
No, we have a mechanism called reference data sharing. So that is again a new concept which has been acquired from a different application to Fusion. So here we maintain if the resource is being shared across departments, generally we will associate a common set for him. So where he would be commonly used across the departments, and if it is specifically being used for that particular specific department only, so we use uh, that particular department's data sharing set itself so that he would not be used across some other departments. Okay, so that is one of the other flexibility.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions we have? So I'll move on to the application navigator. So which is nothing but you can understand it as your the responsibility menu. So based on the type of role which you are assigned with, you will get the privileges like this in the Fusion Applications Navigator. Okay, so these are, you can be able to find the set of options. Okay, the set of options. So based on the functional area, for example, you can see it on the screenshot, which is the application screenshot. You're able to find some sales related options which are given. So based on the sales administrator or sales manager role which is associated to you, and the same way, and you have some contract management related privileges which are also, you can see it. So based on the contract administrator. Okay, so that based on the type of role which you assigned with, so it gets you some privileges. So there are some seeded roles which are also available, and there are roles that get generated based on type of setup entity what you set up, and there are even few other roles that you can customize, or I mean create for your own requirements. So that is also possible. So here you will be able to see how you have the view or look and feel. So in case of the navigator of Fusion applications. Okay, so that is the thing over here. And this is nothing but the home page once you log into the applications the icons, whichever you are able to find it over here. Okay, you are able to find it. This you will call it as springboard icons, and you can also be able to find some dots available here. The first dot, which is selected now, which is nothing but the widget. We call it as, okay, infolet widget. So the way you have widgets being added to your mobile, it can be an Android mobile or any other mobile. So the way you have a widget being added, so the same way we will be able to add infolets here. Okay, the dots you are able to see nothing but infolets. On the first infolet which is selected, now you have all the springboard icons, which are basically the shortcuts for you to get into that particular functional area. So if you want to get into the sales, you will get into this, click on the sales icon, you will be able to get into the respective task which you want to perform. And if it is payables, if you want to view a payable invoice, you will click on the payables icon and we will go to the invoices option, and from there you will go to the task list and view the invoice. So this way, based on the type of role, the privilege will be given to you, and you will be able to authorize, or you are authorized to access some set of tasks. Okay, so that's how you have your springboard icons and your infolets available, okay, for you to access all the things with ease. Okay, so without having any much effort, you can be able to access all the things in kind of a shortcuts. So this is all based on the roles again. Okay, a role which drives all these things. The next thing is supplier creation related screen. You're able to see it. Okay, so the way the supplier gets created and supplier addresses, supplier site and contacts. So all this. So any questions? So if not, we will move on to the next. So this is the purchase order creation. So on the right hand side, you're able to find the task list. So if you click on this particular page which has some lines, you will be able to see requisitions, orders, agreements, and its related tasks. Okay, so the procurement manager role, which is actually driving this. So you will be able to create a purchase order, and based on the approvals, now you can also be able to see manage approvals as a button available, right? Okay, you can be able to see, figure out how the approvals are available, who are there available in the approval, and if you want to dynamically pull an approver, you can pull and assign him part of your approval hierarchy. So all that is available. Okay. So identity manager is the screen where you will perform the system administration activities. So that is how you will query the user here. You're able to see users is selected, right? On the left hand side, you query the user, and then you will be able to find the user available on the right hand side, and you can be able to select the user, and you can be able to assign the roles, and then you can, you know uh, change its password or any other credentials available for the user. So those are the activities. Basically it is kind of a middleware tool, so which helps you to access the data of the users and set up the credentials and all that. Okay, so this we used to do part of the system administrator job. So here we are doing it in identity manager. The next screen given is sales order creation. So how sales order creation is available here. So it looks quite simple, not so complex as we had the page in the sales order for EBS. So currently it is this screen, but as order management is still developing, so not sure what actually it ends up to. But for now, you will be able to see the sales order like this and when it is entered. Next thing is the authorization policy manager. Actually, the IDM and APM should have been kept at a same place, okay, in order to not to have confusion. So APM is nothing but you can be able to view the roles in the APM, and you can be able to assign privileges to the user directly without even assigning the roles. So you can create new application roles in the authorization policy manager. That way your APM is available. So which is nothing but the middleware tool which helps you to configure your security. Okay, so the way the roles is available, you can be able to create your own roles part of APM, and you can be able to associate the same in the identity manager. Okay, so nothing to worry much. We will be able to clearly understand when we get into the theoretical or practical sessions of it. So you'll clearly understand what an IDM and what an APM is about. And the next thing is your course content. So you've got the course content, or you want me to view it?
I think we got that, but are you going to run through that, like read through that course content?
No problem. I can do that. I can do that. So here the modules which are covered, okay, in the training curriculum. So we can be able to get through the Fusion inventory and product management, or Fusion purchasing, cost management, order management, or the seeded orchestration flow, whatever is available, that we will see. So accounts payables, accounts receivables. So it is not completely into the depth of payables or receivables. So only up to creating the invoice and making the payments, and the way whatever is required for you to just access the payables responsibility, and then access the invoice and then make the payments. So up to that level, whatever is required, so you'll be given with, and even the same case with receivables. And Fusion Functional Setup Manager. So what is that? We've just discussed Functional Setup Manager, right? So elaboratively, so that is what an FSM is, that we will discuss. So Identity Manager, Authorization Policy Manager, which are middleware tools, part of the Fusion-based security, that we will discuss, and Business Process Management. So nothing but in case of our approvals, how we handle and how it is, how the BPM is used, that we will understand here. And a core application cycle, or the cycle of the business process. So we will see procure to pay, order to cash, and we'll also be able to see planning cycle also in case of min-max planning. Okay, and in inventory replenishment method called min-max planning, that also we'll see it. So I'll come down. So in case of inventory, so we have all these things. So when you elaborate to each of the topic, so you'll have, these are some of the things that we will discuss. So Fusion procurement, so these are the things that would be discussed, and approval management. Okay, so whatever is required, so we will discuss that. So few of the things which are not that much important, okay, and which can be explored with your own help, so that would be given to you as a task, so which you can simply explore and understand. Okay, so that is also
Okay.
quite important for you to explore yourself, because it is not all the time that I speak and explain to you to get that subject, or that requirement. It is all the time your help, or your zeal, which actually helps you to explore a lot of things. So that actually plays the key role here. So these are okay. So let's come to here the course highlights. So we will be able to get few of the other things as well. So how do we use the rapid implementation spreadsheet? So we have a new concept called rapid implementation configuration. So with the help of that, you can be able to simply load the enterprise structure with the help of an embedded worksheet, Excel work file. So that is the beauty of Fusion application. So how do we do that? So we will understand here. So which helps you to define chart of accounts, ledger, legal entities, and calendar, or even business units also. Okay, so part of the enterprise structure configuration, how do we load it? Okay, so through a single upload, you can be able to configure all these things. So application helps you to do that on multiple steps, but which actually decreases your effort of manually configuring it. So by just keying in the data into an Excel file, you can be able to simply upload it to the instance. Okay, and the next thing is configuration packages. Okay, so if you are actually setting up instances for the client, okay, like the way we have the part of our implementation practice, so we at the at least the minimum level we will have two instances, right? One is test and one is production, development and production. Okay, but here you can be able to have your the way you used to migrate all the data and setup with the help of DBA, but here you will be able to do it on your own with the help of the configuration package. You can see it. Okay, the configuration package, actually how it actually helps you to move the data from one instance to another, so that you can do it on your own without taking the help of any other person, and as a functional job. And you can still be able to copy the existing setup entity into the same instance. For an example, you have created two of the business groups and you want to copy one of the business group to another new business group. Okay, you can be able to copy it with the help of this particular configuration packages or copying the data. So that option is also available for your convenience. So even we demonstrate that as well. And the next thing is, so application integration related, yeah, we will discuss some key objects here. So OTVI reports, BPM approvals, all that, data conversion through FPDA templates. Okay, custom roles creation through security console. So how do you create a custom role with the help of security console? Security console is again a new feature. Okay, so how do you do that? Okay, so these are few things that we would say as a highlights, or some kind of a key assets to our training. Okay, part of the curriculum. So any questions, guys?
Raj, I heard about some REST APIs. So what are those like? Are those would be covered? And could you please give some idea?
API.
Yeah, REST APIs, right? REST.
No, no, we are not covering anything as such.
Okay, but do you have any idea about that or no?
No, but no, I actually have not heard about it.
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you.
So any other questions, guys? So now it is open for you. So just ask anything whichever comes to your mind. Okay, so that we will be able to have a good idea of what we are